A Senate Judiciary Committee began discussing an idea to end straight party voting in North Carolina. The questions surround whether straight party voting is a voter convenience or whether voters simply punch the top of their ballot and ignore the less well-known races down ballot. A Senate Judiciary Committee is just talking about a proposal that would end straight party voting on North Carolina election ballots. Committee members of both parties say there are still many questions that need answering.
I wonder why the presidential ticket is voted on separately, regardless of whether you wanted to vote the rest of the ballot straight ticket or not. So I think that's interesting. I would love to know what the reason is behind that before we go forward.
Some Republican senators who are generally supportive of this legislation do want the answer to that presidential question. On the Democratic side, they say the straight party ticket option makes voting easier, and many voters are comforted by a candidate's party affiliation, especially if they don't know the candidate.
I think that our primary objective should be do whatever is easiest for voters. The whole thing about democracy is that voters participate and it works for them. And straight party voting is just convenient for people.
Another point of conversation is if voters can be confused by straight party voting and if making voters select each individual race on their ballot is a more straightforward option.
It makes the ballot access a little bit easier for people to understand. Instead of voting for the president separate, going through voting straight party down the ticket until you get to judicial races and soil and water, this makes it easier. You just vote on each office that you want to.
Senate Judiciary Committee leaders say these talks will continue into whether the time has passed for straight party voting in North Carolina. Senator Buck Newton wrote this bill to end straight party ticket voting. First of all, welcome to the show. It's your first time on.
Very glad to be here. Thank you for.
What gave you the idea? Why do you think it's needed right now?
Well, honestly, it just seemed like a good common sense thing to do. You know, straight party voting really hurts in some ways. I think the whole process. It focuses on the parties instead of the candidates and the qualities of the candidates themselves, and that's really why I did it. I think straight party voting really hurts viable third party candidates.
But why would you want that? You're a Republican.
Well, I think people should be voting for the person. You know, I'm from Eastern North Carolina. I'm a Republican, but I'm from Eastern North Carolina. You know, Eastern North Carolina has a lot of Democrat roots, and you know, we were always looking for who's the best candidate and not wanting to vote for whoever was the party guy.
What has been the initial reaction from your GOP colleagues?
Very supportive. I think philosophically they feel generally the same way, that people ought to be voting for the best candidate, and sometimes the best candidate is not the candidate from the party that you prefer, whether that be Democrat or Republican or some other party. And straight party voting tends to get people just focused on which party's up and which party's down, and you know, we need to get away from that. We have a lot of problems we need to solve that party labels alone will not do that.
Sounds like you're asking voters out there to engage in the candidates, to learn more about them and not assume the brand is the best candidate.
In every election, especially presidential elections, you have a lot of down ticket races that are really important. I mean, you know, what we do up here in Raleigh is very important, and a lot of folks back home are focusing maybe on what's going on in Washington, D.C. and not paying attention to the bills that are running up here. And they need to know who it is that they're going to send up there and how they're going to approach these bills and what they're going to do.
Have you hit any philosophical brick walls where people say, you know, I'm a lifelong Democrat or I'm a lifelong Republican, and there's no way I'm going to take a chance on crossing that party line? You
know, they can still do that. I mean, this bill would not change the fact that party labels will still be beside each of the candidates' names. So they'll know if the party matters to them, they'll still be able to find the candidate that they want to vote for if that's what's going to decide it. But the other thing I want to point out is that I think that I think it's well documented that straight party voting, for example, hurts the judicial candidates. Judicial candidates are not elected according to their party, and so when you do the straight vote, you don't vote for any of the judicial candidates. So, you know, sometimes people forget.
Senator Buck Newton, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure. Appreciate it.